In Venezuela, the second day of the International Summit Against Fascism continues. This event is within the framework of the commemoration of the 20th anniversary of the 2002 coup d'etat. In Argentina, more than 100 families were evacuated in the province of Corrientes due to floods caused by heavy rains registered in the last 48 hours. China accused the United States government of intentionally inciting the conflict in Ukraine in order to contain Beijing and Moscow. Hi, this is From the South. I am your news anchor, Diego Martin, from the Telstar Studios in Havana. We begin with the news from Venezuela. President Nicolás Maduro participated in the first international summit against fascism on the occasion of the 20th anniversary of the coup d'etat of April 2002. In the Ayacucho Hall of the Presidential Palace of Miraflores, the President received the national and international participants of the event, including diplomatic representatives accredited in the South American nation. During the meeting, he recounted the events that took place between April 11th and 13th, 2002, under the sponsorship of the U.S. government. Maduro made a chronological review of the several military incursions carried out by the United States in the Latin American region. And head of state of Venezuela, Nicolás Maduro, pointed out it was the people and the armed forces that spontaneously came out to recover the constitution, to recover democracy.
Commander Chavez had told them, don't underestimate the people. Don't underestimate the Venezuelan military force. And it was the people and the armed forces that spontaneously came out to recover the constitution, to recover democracy, to recover what was called at that time the constitutional threat, a word that generated passion, fervor, feverish passion. The people took to the streets to rescue what they understood as the constitutional threat, to recover democracy and to recover it from its kidnapping and to guarantee the life of President Hugo Chavez Frias, leader of the national majorities, leader of the Bolivarian Revolution.
The Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro pointed out the opportunity of the meeting against fascism and the meeting of popular communication to see the tasks for the future.
It is very opportune, these meetings against fascism, this meeting of popular communication, to see the task for the future, the task of articulation of the social movements, the popular movements, the task of articulation in the struggle for the union of our peoples, for the struggle for a world of peace, multipolar, pluricentric, a world without hegemonies, for the struggle for an international democratic communicational order.
In Ecuador, the Constitutional Court in full declared as inadmissible the request of the National Assembly to consult on the constitutionality of the partial objection made by President Guillermo Lasso to the draft organic bill that guarantees the voluntary interruption of pregnancy for girls, adolescents, and women in case of rape. The court pointed out that the Constitution grants the President the exclusive competence to present an objection of unconstitutionality. This makes him the only one entitled to activate the preventive control of constitutionality against a bill. The court emphasized that one must act in accordance with the law and respecting the division of powers, stressing that constitutional control mechanisms cannot be activated with the purpose of the court intervening and acting outside of its competencies. And in Colombia, social and human rights organizations denounced on Tuesday that President Ivan Duque ended the peace agreement signed in 2016. The organization defended peace, warned that it could hand over thousands of data that demonstrate how the executive ended the integrity of the peace agreement by violating the commitments assumed by the state. The institution regretted that the defenders of the peace agreement are absent from the United Nations Security Council that will deal with the situation of violence in the country. It also recalled that 315 peace signatories were assassinated since the pact was signed, and 241 only during the government of Ivan Duque. The United Nations Committee on Enforced Disappearances presented a report on its visit to Mexico. The document is in two parts and contains 85 recommendations in which it points out the need to adopt a national policy for the prevention and eradication of enforced disappearances and establishes the minimum conditions for it to be effective. It also stresses the importance of strengthening national institutions and the search and investigation processes by ensuring systematic and effective coordination of institutions. Likewise, it recognizes important normative, institutional, and jurisprudential advances in that country. The Mexican state acknowledged the work of the committee with a commitment to implement such recommendations. The Secretary of Government will be the institution in charge of coordinating the efforts to work on a strategy attending to the committee's contributions. In Cuba, political analysts and other experts offered a conference titled United States Interference and Coup d'etat in Venezuela on the occasion of the 20th anniversary of an attempt to oust Commander Hugo Chavez in 2002, which was overturned by the people. The Alba Cultural House in Havana served as a venue for the event. The ambassador of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela in Cuba, Adán Chávez, as well as researchers, historians, intellectuals, and other officials, participated in the forum that recalled the 48 hours of the failed coup d'etat against Commander Hugo Chavez, orchestrated and financed from Washington. This coup d'etat tried to overthrow the Bolivarian Revolution. The events that shook the region in the following years were also recalled, and that 2 decades later ratified the need for the Latin American peoples to remain alert because of the constant plotting of the United States and its allies, according to this official.
In this commemoration, in these 20 years, they allow us to continue reflecting, to continue bearing in mind what is the fundamental enemy of our revolutions. We see how the government of the United States, whatever the president during these 20 years, we've had several changes of president in that imperialist nation, and well, the script of the coup, the script of the attack against our revolutions, against our people, is practically the same. Then it is a moment to continue reflecting, to not lose sight of which is our true enemy. They, for example, continue talking about the triangle of evil, that for them we are Cuba, Nicaragua, and Venezuela, because we are the revolutions that have most resisted and defeated the pretensions.
In Peru, truckers, farmers, and several social organizations and workers' unions have come out to protest against the high cost of living, and they have called on the government to carry out far-reaching reforms to help the country out of the current crisis. Our correspondent Ramiro Angulo Maquiavelo gives us more details.
The social and economic crisis Peru is going through has led several social organizations and workers' unions to demand that the political leaders take measures to ease the blow on ordinary citizens and to improve their quality of life.
All prices have gone up on every item. There's been a sharp increase in the prices of everything. And how much have salaries increased? The salary increase has been meaningless. It is not enough to cover the family shopping basket.
For Perpetua Mejia, leader of the Peruvian Workers' General Confederation, the largest of its kind in the country, the main problem is the obstructionist spirit of the Congress, but also the corrupted way in which government officials have been.
We want the uncooperative, obstructionist elements in Congress to be removed. And also we call on to the President to summon the best executives of our country to govern with him, because we cannot accept any traffic of influence. Cronism harms the nation.
Another key issue in this crisis is the rise in the price of fertilizers for agriculture. So the president of Conveagro, Climaco Cárdenas, says it is urgent to address this issue, as well as the implementation of policies that may strengthen family agriculture. At present, our main concern is the issue of fertilizers. Secondly, we're discussing the issue of state purchase, that the food program should buy from agriculture. Today we've made it clear that the programs are not doing that. Also, Perpetua Mejia, it is important that President Pedro Castillo fulfill his promise of a new constitution to end the monopolies that prevent the quality of life of the majority from improving.
The constitution that we have was drawn by Fujimori's coup to fit his interests. He gave away our wealth, and we voted for Professor Castillo because he offered to restore the constitution, to set up a new constituent assembly.
We stand firm in our position. We have already made public the responsibility of both the executive and the Congress. If a solution cannot be found that may involve local regional governments, we'll be on the threshold of an unprecedented crisis. For the time being, President Castillo is expected to call on for national meetings so that the political parties, the church, and the civil society may reorganize the government.
Ramiro Angulo Maquiavelo, Telesur, Lima.
We're going to take a short break now. Please join us again after this. Hi, and welcome back to From the South. In Argentina, more than 100 families were evacuated in the province of Corrientes due to floods caused by heavy rains registered in the last 48 hours. The head of Civil Defense, Orlando Bertoni, informed that people are receiving medical assistance and support from the authorities, especially in the territories of San Luis del Palmar and Ituzaingó. Bertoni pointed out that damage to viaducts, road closures, and interruption of electrical services were reported. The Electric Energy Department is working in the area to reestablish the service. The official expressed that the possibility that the situation will improve during the next few days when rainfall should decrease, according to forecasts. A report by the United Nations World Food Programme in Somalia warned that nearly 40% of Somalis could die of starvation. According to the report, the main causes of the situation in the East African country are due to drought, armed conflicts, and the study pointed out that in 2011, Somalia faced a famine that lasted several months and claimed thousands of lives. However, the UN highlighted that the crisis has now worsened due to the lack of funding that prevents assistance to the victims. At least 45 people died in floods and mudslides after rainstorms struck the South African port city of Durban and surrounding KwaZulu-Natal province. The province's Department of Cooperative Governance announced in a statement that the death toll could possibly increase as more reports come in. Days of pounding rain flooded several areas and shut dozens of roads across the southeastern city, while landslips caused train services across KwaZulu-Natal to be suspended. The Disaster Management Department in KwaZulu-Natal province urged people to stay at home and ordered those residing in low-lying areas to move to higher ground. According to Provincial Premier Silesi Kala, more than 2,000 houses and 4,000 informal homes have been damaged. Rescue operations aided by the military are underway to evacuate people trapped in affected areas.
Last night with the rain and the floods getting very heavy, the bottom of this bank gave way and caused the rest of the bank to give away, which caused the wall to give way, and now that is all across the road.
At around 3 a.m. I felt the truck shaking and I thought maybe someone bumped it. And when I tried to open the counter, I saw the water level which was very high. I tried frantically to start the truck and it refused it at first and then eventually it started. And then there was a lot of water, so I drove and then started waking us up. I managed to get out of the yard and then I got the other men out.
The South African economy tries hard to recover from the setbacks of the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic, despite rising global energy prices, high inflation rates, and risks from current geopolitical tensions.
It needs to prioritize the necessities. So your food, for example, and electricity, it would mean that you forego like going out on a Friday night so that you ensure that you sustain for the rest of the month. And sometimes if it means that you take a taxi instead of pouring petrol into the car because petrol also just keeps going up, then that is what you'd have to sacrifice.
The reduction of the fuel levy is quite welcome because without that cut, the fuel price increases would have been quite steep, close to 2 rand a litre for petrol and just over 3 rand a litre for diesel. And for diesel in particular, a bit encouraging because farmers are starting with their winter planting. So that should give them some relief and hopefully that will filter through to lower consumer prices.
In Lebanon, a security official who wished to remain anonymous said an explosion ripped through a building in the southern part of the country early Tuesday, killing only the son of the town's mayor and injuring 7 others. The blast occurred in the town of Banaful near the port city of Sidon, and it caused the collapse of a 2-floor building that had served both as town hall and as a scout center for the Shiite Amal movement. The explosion damaged nearby buildings and cars, and although the cause of the blast has not yet been determined, the authorities presume the oil fuel stored in the building was a starting point. A special ministerial conference of the Forum for Economic and Trade Cooperation between China and Portuguese-speaking countries, also known as Forum Macau, was held in China's Macau Special Administrative Region. Government delegates from China and Angola, Brazil, Cape Verde, Guinea-Bissau, Mozambique, Portugal, Sao Tome and Principe, and Timor-Leste attended the meeting online and addressed issues including epidemic control and post-COVID economic recovery. The representatives of the forum signed a joint statement to promote the joint fight against the pandemic, resume economic growth, build Macau into a platform for exchanges between China and Portuguese-speaking countries, and improve cooperation on economy, trade, culture, and other areas. Representatives announced the official admission of Equatorial Guinea into the forum. We have more news coming up after one final short break. Please stay with us. And welcome back. China accused the United States government of intentionally inciting the conflict in Ukraine in order to contain Beijing and Moscow. The spokesman of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of China, Zhao Lijian, announced that Washington systematically spreads disinformation to discredit Beijing and distorts its fundamental position in favor of peace talks to the Russia-Ukraine conflict. The Asian giant also holds the North Atlantic Organization responsible for the critical division that Moscow and Kiev are already experiencing due to Western policies. Recently, the U.S. government and its allies pressured China to define whose side it is on in the conflict, arguing that neutrality is not an option. The presidents of Russia, Vladimir Putin, and Belarus, Alexander Lukashenko, met on Tuesday in Vostochny in the Russian Far East to commemorate Cosmonautics Day and review bilateral agendas.
Today, in the new conditions, we are talking about continuing the cooperation on the groundwork that was made in previous decades, but passed on today's development. I mean the creation of a new satellite for high-precision Earth sensing, the creation of joint work on plasma engines in the future that can be used. This is a very promising topic, and of course, the construction of the cosmodrome itself. We need good, competent builders. You know, it's important that I came here and don't feel sanctions here. You walk around and don't feel the sanctions. Everything is domestic. People are working. Thousands of people are working at the facility. Thank you for inviting us to participate in this construction. We will definitely accept your proposal and offer your interesting options.
At least 13 people were injured during a rush-hour shooting at a subway station in the New York borough of Brooklyn on Tuesday, where authorities said several undetonated devices were recovered amid chaotic scenes. According to the New York Police Department and senior law enforcement officials, a man in a gas mask and orange construction vest may have tossed a smoke canister on the platform to distract the rush-hour crowd. The suspect was still at large in Brooklyn, according to Manhattan Borough President Mark Levine. The city's fire department gave a total of 13 injuries at this time, while police sources are saying at least 5 people were shot in the incident. Mass casualty shootings happen with relative frequency in the United States, where firearms are involved in approximately 40,000 deaths per year. The number of pistols, revolvers, and other firearms sold continues to rise in that country. Agricultural and food giants based in the United States have largely profited from the food crisis caused by the conflict between Russia and Ukraine, according to media outlets. While people in many countries are struggling to make ends meet, American food giants, the United States, have seen growth of wealth from the crisis. The Ukraine crisis has dealt a heavy blow to the global food market system, instigating record food price hikes in March, with the most poverty-stricken population suffering the worst hit, according to a latest report released by the Food and Agriculture Organization on April 8th. Bunge, Archer Daniels, Midland, Cargill, and Louis Dreyfus, the world's largest food companies, control 75 to 90% of global food trade, and the first 3 of them are based in the United States. With that, we've come to the end of this news brief. Remember, you can find these and many other stories on our website at Telstar English. You can also join us on social media for all the latest news. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Telegram. For Telstar English, I am Dio Martin. Thank you for watching.